Hi, Namaste, Sława. My name is Joanna Czoluch. In Polish you pronounce it Hołuj. I'm a teacher, advisor, writer, and a witch. Wiedźma. Wiedma. Mostly Slavic, but I use also other ancient sources in my practices, in my consultations. I want to tell you about my project, JCLady, Alternative Education. JCLady, it's me. Alternative education, it's all about how to obtain metamorphosis of your life through ancient sources. I write books, I do consultations, and I do workshops. However, now I want to tell you just about one part of my project. The project is in sections. There are 15 sections in book series and in workshops. It's connected. One of those sections is language, speech. I have always been very interested since my childhood in words and in images. So words are sounds, but it's also letters and written language, right? Image can be a sign, a symbol, or it can be a full image. Now, I have always had those two sides, very analytical and very synthetic. I was at the same time a poet, a writer. I was writing tales and stories and poems, and on the other side, I was very analytical. I was interested in the language, in etymology, where the words come from. I created my own languages in childhood, and I taught them to my sisters and brothers and cousins. Now, later on, I became a teacher. I taught Polish language. I studied Polish philology, then I taught privately Polish, grammar and literature. Then I studied also foreign languages, basically teaching foreign languages, so I really am well prepared as a teacher for teaching. I had my private language school and then a creative activities center, and after that also I started doing homeschooling. I've got two sons, and for the last 12 years I've been teaching my sons. 12 because my son is 12, oldest, and I've been teaching him since his childhood, since his birth, in fact. We've been using global education of Glenn Doman and other guides, teachers, but I also taught him languages, foreign languages. Now we are learning 5 languages each day in a week is, except for weekend, the weekend is language day. Now, all that showed me that there is a kind of problem with languages, and especially I was pondering over Polish. Why is it so complicated, or why do people say it's complicated? Because to me it wasn't really complicated. I just thought it's a mess. Polish grammar, it's a mess. It's messy, it's illogical, while the language itself, it's very logical. At the same time, language was, I saw it as a big potential, immense, infinite potential in Polish. And at the other, on the other side, I saw that grammar is not really consistent. It's there are some stuff which kind of was there, but maybe people thought, the linguists, they thought it's too complicated, so they left it. Some ideas, grammatical ideas. And one day I thought, that's impossible. So I started writing. And I wrote, first I started writing it was a kind of manual, a little manual for my son, Polish grammar, new Polish grammar. I wanted to revise it and reform it. Then I saw that the topic is bigger than I thought. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been writing that and rewriting and rewriting. And I kind of started understand more and more. Then I wrote also another manual for my son. It was a comparative grammar. That's what you do in the universities. But I thought, no, it should be also for teenagers and for adults, but not really only for universities. So I wrote it, comparative grammar of Polish, French, and English. Then I decided, for the last 2 years, I've been deciding, finally, what I want, how this project of mine will be looking like how it will look like. So I decided on those 15 sections, and I decided on the grammar. So now, this year, I decided that I will prepare a course of Polish, and it will be a new course. And I will do it all differently. It will be for foreigners. The course will be in English. It will be in Polish, but the books, the manuals will be in English. There are already, because I wrote them. There's one that I need to finish. The course will be 1 semester. Depends if it's 1 lesson a week or 2 lessons, grammar and conversations. It could take about 4 months, maybe 5, depends. But I think 1 semester, 5 or 6 months, it can be. There are manuals, there are 6 of them, 6 books. So there is Polish grammar, theory, going back to the roots, that's how I called it. And there are 2 parts of it, 2 volumes. So that's 2 books. Then I have comparative grammar, Polish, French, and English, 2 volumes, also 2 books. Then there is a Polish grammar exercises, and I have it, and I used also old songs, Polish songs, and so we can work with the typical exercises, but we can also work with culture, the culture of Poland, based in songs, Polish songs. Also, I wrote, there is a book of conversations, and I'm using videos, basically old Polish movies. I use them because they are old, so there are no problems with rights, copyrights. And the thing is that in those old movies, they use a proper, nice, perfect pronunciation. Because before, actors were really taught how to pronounce, how to speak well. And it's really a pleasure to listen to them. And the language is nice. So I'm using parts of that. And all the course of Polish will be online, and it will be one-to-one. Basically, that's my that's my stand. Let's see, but basically I think it should be for like one-to-one. Yeah, I will be using Zoom, of course, but Zoom is connected to my platform, educational platform, and on that platform will be everything, right? You will have access to lots of information. You can get all those books also in electronical form, but you can basically, it's better if you buy them. You need to buy the books because it's really, I think it's important to have the book. It's a question of senses and learning in using multiple tools, right? Online on the platform, you will have the videos and songs and vocabulary, and of course the connection with me, lessons. Now, just a few moments, I want to tell you why is it different, what I changed. That course of Polish is different. First of all, because I'm just going back to sources. I studied Sanskrit and studied other Slavic languages and, of course, languages of the West Europe. And I've seen that, well, first of all, Polish language is an ancient language. That's why it's so complicated. That's why you've got 7 cases in declinations, not like 4 or 5 or 6. In Sanskrit, you've got 8 cases. All right. So I used a lot of Sanskrit grammar, but I don't really put it in Polish. No, it's not that. I just compare. Sanskrit grammar is also a late grammar. It was also changed a lot, and I don't agree. I don't think so. It's really ancient the way it is now. It's just like with Polish, all right? So I wanted to go back to sources. So what I said, what I wrote, the most important is Polish, the books, 2 books, Polish grammar, theory, back to sources. There you've got a big part where I describe, I talk about the history of Polish language, connections between Sanskrit and others. I talk about, I give proofs, right? The vocabulary and people who studied. I talk about all grammars of Polish, how it developed. So there is lots of history, and it's nice to read. It's really nice. Usually you don't have it, that background in grammar books, but for Polish it's very important. For any Slavic languages, but here it's Polish. And I consider Polish very full. It's fuller than many other Slavic languages that just left out lots of stuff in grammar. Polish did not really. Okay, so that's this theoretical part. Then I decided to put everything, and it's important, in order. Now, what's the order? The order is like it's universal order, ancient. It's like in esoterics, as above, so below, right? And it's like that. It's like a Fibonacci cycles, and you always come from the smaller the smallest to the biggest, or from the biggest to the smallest. That's how you speak, right? You hear somebody, so you've got the big speech, right? Big. Or you receive something big, then you have to decode it, right? And go to the smallest. Now, if you produce, you come from the smallest to the biggest. That's always those waves, okay? There and back, there and back. So I decided in my book of grammar to come from the big, because I gave you all the theory, all the story of the language. Then we went to the smallest, because I put it in order, meaning I started from the smaller, from the sound. So there you've got phonetics, phonology, you can say. So that's the knowledge about sounds, phonemes. Then you've got morphology, bigger parts of the language. Morphology, bigger parts like syllables and parts, root parts of the words, or small words, articles, like we don't have really articles, prepositions and so on, but I talk about articles like comparisons. Pronouns that are small, but then you've got well, a part of morphology is we call it flexia. You don't really have that word in English, but basically what it is, it's declinations and conjugations, right? So how the word changes. It's also about small parts, because those small parts change, right? And it's it's a part of morphology. But we go bigger and bigger, and then we go to syntax. So which is the knowledge about about sentences, how you structure, how you form a sentence, a phrase. So phrases and sentences, and then the biggest is the text. The text, all the text, or the speech, right? Your expression. And that's how the manual, the book, is constructed. Now, there are two important, or maybe three important parts. One part is about in phonetics. Well, basically I say it's not like phoneme or sound doesn't have the meaning. Yes, it does, just like a letter has meaning. And there I talk a little about writings, because in Slavic culture there were many types of writings, like runes and glagolitic script, and that's all the history that we've got. We know it as Slavic people, but it's hidden. I mean, it was covered, it was mystified, it was lied about. Anyway, it was a secret for a long time. Now it's not a secret. So I'm talking about this, about the meaning of the sound, of the phoneme, the small sound, right, that we pronounce, and about letters. All right. So that's a big part that I changed. You don't have it. You don't have it, right? You don't really have it. Of course, I also talk about the metrics. I mean, that we've got in our soul. I think, but Chomsky said in our mind, right? We are inbuilt. We've got inbuilt matrix, meaning the rules, the grammar is inside us. And then we've got all the potential of words. So I talk about this, and also it's connected with the sounds, right? That's how we pronounce. It's connected to nature and to everything. Okay, then I talk about declinations, and what I do, I use 8 of them, 8 cases. Because I took from the example of Sanskrit, then I showed that in Polish we still have 8 cases. They are just put in different places and called differently. So I use that, and I talk about Russian, that has also that, because there are 8 cases, and you've got those names in Latin a little, so we may use Latin names, and it's the best, I think, for in English. So in Latin you've got genitivus, and genitivus in Polish it was called dopełniacz. It's not correct really. So I talk about this in this part of the book, and I give examples that genitivus exists. Because we've got the names of cities. Like, for example, genitivus created the word Kraków, because Krak, it was a king, and he had the place, the city called Kraków, and Kraków means it's a city of Krak. All right, so whose is it? Whose, right? Whose. It's not of what, or right? It's whose. It's cracks. So, and genitivus is even present in because it's Saxon genitive. That's it. So you've got that left over in English, and in Polish it was rejected from declinations and they put it back. But you've got it in the name, okay? In Russian you've got rodzicielnik, the name, and in Latin you've got genitivus, meaning something that is gives birth to, because it's somebody's, whose. And in Polish I thought it would be called also rodzicielnik. Alright, so just like in Russian, and in Russian still they use, for example, somebody in Russian you've got people are called, for example, Antoni Pawłow, okay, Antoni Pawłow, and Pawłow is not the last name. It's kind of, they consider it like a pre-last name or the second name, but it just means that the Paweł was his father. So Pawłow, it's the son of Paweł. Paweł. Alright? So it's the same. It's genitivus. Genitivus that created, because genitivus had this ending of for masculine. Anyway. So that's it, that's declinations, and I just use 8 cases. I show you how to use 8 cases. Not everywhere it's needed. I talk about it. And in later part, which is, it's a big part, it's conjugations, and there it's a huge reform, it's already changed. I talk about the fact that there are 3 types of verbs. There are only 3 tenses. Only 3 tenses. That's clear. Alright. Past, present, and future. That's it. Then I say that there are 3 conjugations, and they are based in aspects. Alright. 3 conjugations, meaning that there are 3 ways we can structure the verb, I mean the endings, schematas, all right? So there are 3 only of them, and the 4th one we can say it's mixed, right? Or you can say there are 3 and 2 of them are in, they varied a little, like E changed in A, I changed in E, alright? But never mind, that it's too complicated to tell you now. There are 3 conjugations anyway. And then there are aspects. Aspects are very important. It's what you've got in English. In my comparative grammar, I talk about it. It's like, usually, I mean, almost always, in French also, you call your tenses like present, Present is the time line. Now, present simple. What is simple? It's an aspect. I got it when I went to study English and French. And there was a lady who was really great in grammar. And she told us they are just aspects, simple and continuous or perfect. And that's it, all right? Simple, continuous, and perfect. There are also conjugations. It is translated into conjugations, but there are three aspects which are very important. In Polish, you've got it. You've got perfect, which is dokonany. Aspect, it's an aspect. Each tense has this aspect. Because this aspect can be like perfect or imperfect, right? So either it's perfect or imperfect. And then you've got simple and continuous, and this is a pair of aspects, meaning it can be simple or continuous. Simple is something that repeats, right? And continuous is something that is stuck in one. We are interested in one spot, in time. In fact, it's continuous, right? Duration, that is important when we use it. In Polish, it exists. It's called, like for simple, it's wielokrotność, like that it repeats, repetition. And continuous, it's jednokrotność. It means that it's one time occasion, right? It's duration. And that's it. And I talk, not really, that's it, because then you've got okay. Then you've got also 7, we call it tryby in Polish, or in French, I think you would call it voix. There are like voices, all right? And usually you just think about passive and active voice. That's not really it, because active and passive, they are just those are aspects. But it's all about the big text or big expression, speech, right? When you get the speech, you want to know what is the purpose of your speaking. Like, are you asking a question? Are you ordering something? Are you, or maybe it's a condition. So you've got conditional voices, right? Conditional ways of speaking. And that's tryby, and it's important, right? But yeah, it's in the section of syntax. And that's it. That's what I changed. Of course, it's quite complicated. Polish is not easy, but it's very, very logical. I wanted to make it easier for foreigners. So, and for Polish people, we up till now we don't have anything like Besheral even in Russian there is a book of tables. I bought it. In Polish it doesn't exist. It's just everybody considers it's just too complicated and too many exceptions, right? But I found the way to do it. So in my grammar book, Theory, Back to Sources, those 2 volumes, in volume 1 you've got 55 tables. Those tables are big. It consists, there are all conjugations in there, and tenses and aspects. So it's like A4. The books are A4 size. So it's big. It's like Cambridge manuals, right? For learning English, for exams. So it's A4, and the tables are also A4. So it's like A4, 55 tables. Then you've got the whole list of thousands verbs with numbers, which table to go to. It's like in Besheral. But also I've got 55 tables that are simplified, short tables for conjugations of verbs. And the other volume also contains 55 tables, so there are like 110 tables of Polish verbs. Yeah. And yeah, I hope it helps. I mean, I know it helps, but it's just the very beginning of changing the way, changing the way we teach Polish. Anyway, anybody who's interested, I hope next year, 2022, January, I will start the course of Polish online. Okay, you too, you all take care, and namaste and sława. Goodbye.